Times are hard, my friends, and so therefore I challenged myself to find the cheapest 55-inch packed full of features that I could, and this is the one that I came up with. Don't forget to hit the red button to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up and click the notification bell to get my next video first. So I bought this TV from local supermarket Aldi. I bought it online, and if you're in Europe or in the UK, you'll know all about Aldi. But is this TV any good? Well, the purpose for this video is to show you what you can get if you really go budget. I'm not talking about going for the smallest TV, I'm still looking at a 55-inch 4K TV. But this one also has Dolby Vision and HDR. It comes with a really smart remote which has got shortcut features, and it also has the built-in Freeview Play if you use that type of setup. Now, I guess I did have a preconception that the TV was going to be something of a throwback from maybe the early 2000s, and in some ways it is. It's black and plasticky, but it does have 4 HDMI, and it also has HDMI ARC on HDMI port 2. So I thought I would just plug it in and see what we got. It has got a slightly weird power cable, and it's got, well, an okay look to it. The stand is okay, it's very minimal, there is absolutely zero cable management, and it's got quite a thick bezel around the edge. But if you can get over the fact that this doesn't look like a premium grade TV, well then I don't think it is that bad. Sure, it's not the thinnest TV on the market, but again, you wouldn't expect that. But remember guys, this cost just $289.99. That's around $330. So this is over £2,000 cheaper than what I paid for the Samsung S95B. Now, I'm not going to do a comparison video, don't worry guys, but it's just an example of how big a saving and how cheap you can get this. Now, this does come with Android TV built in, which again is another nice feature. The actual menu system is very basic. It is like a throwback in time. However, it has got various different settings that you can choose. What I did find though is that all of those settings were, well, they just didn't really make that much difference. You wouldn't expect it to either. What I tried to do is get a little bit more brightness into the picture, but as soon as you put the brightness up, well, it made it go washed out. I managed to get it up by about 2 or 3 points, and it was then a little bit better. The Android TV setup is very similar to every Android TV setup that you would expect, and it is a smart TV, so it comes with all of the major apps, and that does include Netflix, so it is good to see that you can just operate this TV just with the power plugged in and then connecting it to your Wi-Fi. Now, I found that the actual operating system and adjusting going from different screens was actually really smooth. It didn't lag at all, and I was quite surprised. Again, I've had much more expensive TVs that definitely lag more. As I mentioned earlier, all of the different changes that you can make to the picture really are very minimal, and although there's lots of options, they just don't really change it that much, and when they do, they just wash it out completely or make it too dark, and so therefore it's very minimal, so you've got to quite like the picture to start off with. Here you can see we've put the brightness up a little bit too high, and it does feel a little bit washed out, but then on some scenes like this, it actually looks really good, and especially in a darker room. So the TV does advertise that it's got Dolby Vision and HDR built in. It doesn't go into too much detail about that though, but what I would say is that on a 4K source, the picture quality like this was absolutely excellent. Again, I was really surprised. The main issue though with this TV is the brightness. It just doesn't get to a high enough level of brightness to really compete with more expensive TVs. But then again, you are only paying a small amount for it. Another couple of features that you wouldn't expect is that it does have HLG support and also motion frame interpolation at 1200 MPI. Now, a couple of things with the technology that also makes it cheaper is the fact that it's a VA panel, as you would expect, and also it's an edge-lit LED, so you're not getting a full backlight, and that's why the brightness just isn't there. Now, obviously, I've not had much experience with this TV. I've not had it for very long, so I'm going to obviously monitor it over time. And I'm probably going to put it in a bedroom because that is where I think the ideal scenario is. But this, obviously, at this size, will be, if you are really on a strict budget and you want a 4K TV, is definitely one that you can consider for your main room if you only want to spend a very limited amount. And we all know that things This type of price TV does struggle when it comes to things like motion, and I thought that the screen uniformity was going to be awful. However, as I'll show you in the test in a second, it wasn't as bad as what I thought. There is a degree of blooming which doesn't necessarily come across in this video, but definitely you notice it in reality. And when you're watching things like a football match or a cricket match, you do see a little bit of screen tearing as the camera is panning on a big green screen, for instance. But again, it wasn't terrible, and I've seen far more expensive TVs suffer with as bad, if not worse. This is the motion. As you can see, it does suffer somewhat in terms of scrolling motion, and this is where you're obviously going to expect that to be an issue. But when we did the test on whether the screen was clean or not, apart from around the edges, the rest of it again was absolutely fine. And for the majority of people paying this type of money for a TV, they probably wouldn't notice anything too bad. Obviously, the corners are where you see the worst problems. Now, what about gamers out there? Well, gamers, yes, you can hook this up to your PS5 or your Xbox and you can enjoy playing games. The thing that you'll notice though is that it really does struggle with the darkness, and it almost seems to fade in and out of bright and dark, and it just doesn't react quick enough. And that gives you an overall, well, it's a very noticeable feeling of an inferior panel. One thing that I would say though is that don't try and make it brighter either in the HDR setting or within the brightness, because again it will just go washed out, and I would much prefer to have a sharper or more contrasty picture than one that just looks faded or looks like it's almost got a cloth over the top of it, because that is the effect that you get with this TV if you do the brightness. So to give you an example of that brightness, if I go into the brightness settings and try and raise it, literally as soon as I get over about 53, 54, it just gives this completely washed out look, and it's completely unwatchable. Now you can try and balance that out with changing the contrast, but again, it just doesn't really work too well. Yes, you can get it so it's slightly better than what the actual standard preset is, however, it's not brilliant. But overall, guys, what I would say is that if you're in the market for a budget TV, then with this TV, you're getting, I think, great value for money. Now your choice is either to go for a better quality TV, which is maybe a few years old, which is maybe the route that I would go. But if you are looking for a newish TV and 55 inches with Dolby Vision and HDR, well then I don't think you can go that wrong. This was £289.99. I think it makes for an ideal second TV or bedroom TV or a kids TV without spending the earth. So guys, we're trying to save you money on this channel as well. Let me know what you think. Would you just pass on this completely, or is this something which you would consider? Hope you found this video helpful, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next review from All Things Tech.